Con Stathopoulos and Josh Phegan come together in an incredible podcast, Grow, Scale, Master.
An energetic approach to drive progress, master skills, build strengths and put the strategy back into rapid business and personal success.
Backed by real-world experience in rapid scaling to playing the long-term game of business, it's the story of all the lessons learned on the journey to mastery.
Be inspired, renew your energy and chase the future with Grow, Scale, Master.
Con, this is like an amazing conversation, and I was reading this story about the All Blacks, and they had this whole idea where they just had DTD written up everywhere they went. And it was like, what sort of team would we need to become to dominate the decade?
Oh, I like that.
And it made me just think about like the simple clarity about how you can provide such incredible strategic direction for a business or for a sporting team in a really short period of time, but actually just like clarifying exactly what we're here to do. And I love this, that the long-term view is the greatest strategic advantage that's actually hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, right.
If you think a little about it, like, do you think that people are just way too short-term in how they think about things when they come into a team, when they exit a team, what they do inside of a business, about, you know, whether or not they really have a plan to dominate? Is it just way too short-term? There's not enough like long-term planning of what we're actually here to do?
Yeah, I think, yeah, most definitely. I think there's also a lack of planning. And a lack of actually working out what you want to achieve in your professional life and your personal life.
Yeah.
And I think because people haven't taken the time to actually work out what they want their lives to be like in the next 12 months, 36 months, 60 months, they just default to what's literally in front of them. So, for example, right now in Sydney, the market's really strong, right? We also know that in the next probably 14 to 30 days, that's going to shift because there's a lot more stock coming on market. So we need to be able to be adaptable.
Well, it turned 2 weeks ago in Terrigal.
Well, it turned 2 weeks ago in Western Sydney as well, right?
Yes.
But what I'm getting to is that if you're just chasing what's in front of you, you're only going to get what's in front of you.
And I think this whole thing is that, like, if you're thinking about developing people, as an example, then what people really want is career progression.
Yes.
And I'm really seeing this very evidently in the buyer's agency space. Because there's a lot of them very quickly. And there's no real need to necessarily stay inside of a brand because no one has necessarily built a brand platform like we've seen in established residential. So it's a very immature section of the estate agency industry so far. Now, it's going to mature quite quickly, but the basic idea is that if you can give people like, we've got a bit of a roadmap, right? So you come into a business and you might start in reception and then maybe you get a chance in leasing, and leasing lets you go into being a BDM, and BDM lets you then be a property manager or to swap into sales at that point, maybe do an operational role inside of a team, start as a sales agent inside of someone's business, continue to build through that, get to a significant amount of volume, become a senior agent potentially in that team, or potentially break off into your own, but ultimately then become a partner and be a part of the business. And what we've got is we've got like a series of like very clear metrics, which might be number of transactions that you've done, total amount of income that you've actually produced, length of tenure inside the organization, skill sets you've actually developed, you know, to try to make all that happen. And I just don't think that enough people have got that mapped out. And I don't think enough people are selling that in the recruitment phase. And then I don't think that they're actually spending the time to have the training and the development team around their organization to be able to grow people into scale into that component.
I completely agree, mate. I think any person that's in your business, in your team, that is worth having wants to know what the plan is, long-term strategic vision of the business at a macro level, go right down to a micro level. What's in it for me? What do I need to acquire in terms of skill sets, assets, experiences, results to be able to progress my career, and what is the path forward? And I think this is the biggest thing that we lack in this industry is leadership, because we're not leading people. We're not giving them the opportunity to be able to go, hey, here's where you are right now. For you to progress to the next step, these are the 3 key things that we must master. Okay, and mastery looks like X, Y, and Z. And I think that...
So do you think the leaders are too much like firefighters?
Absolutely.
It's rushing
and also,
of the day.
They've never, because they also went through the exact same experience, they don't know how to teach it. So, you know, think about it. You come on board, as you said, you go through property management, maybe leasing, maybe BDM, maybe you come straight in as a lead generator, an associate. You progress to become an agent. You build your own team. You then open up your office. and then you don't know what you're doing from that point forward. And I'm just generalizing here.
Yes.
So we need to be able to create a place that helps people change their lives, that gives them the opportunity and the platform to be able to go and do something pretty special with their careers.
So if you're in a position that you start to think about how you grow and serve your customer base, and you start thinking about doing that for a decade, when we first turned up, I think most people probably had a trainer for like 18 months.
Yeah.
And I had the view that when I sat down with clientele, I'd said, look, I actually won't start working with you unless we've got a view that this relationship could go a decade and some. So the basic idea is that I've got to grow faster than you, understand the organizational needs, the requirements, the new people that are going to come in, but also to take your most advanced people and do really good stuff with them. And if you allow me to grow and then ultimately I can come to serve the needs, then I'd like the opportunity every year of a renewal. And we've now got clients that are like literally sitting at their 17th, if not 18th year of renewals, which is out of control. And the basic foundational idea is that literally if you start thinking about it, I just worked out that I don't want to have to go and chase lots and lots of new stuff when I can be in a position I can serve existing customers that are incredible and help them to build like phenomenal businesses that dominate their marketplaces. Now, if you think about this, most agents, if you think about dominating the decade when it actually comes to serving customers, how does our industry go on past clients? How does it go on the top 100 customers based on spend? How does it go on your top 100 customers based on volume of transactions? How does it go on landlords that have been with you for more than a decade? Have we just got a significant, underbaked approach to loyalty programs?
Yes, we absolutely do.
So
we've orphaned all of them.
So my team are on it. I dare say that your daughter would be as well.
Yes.
But they go to call it the Mecca Beauty Loop.
Yep.
And what
$1 billion unicorn now.
And so now what they do is at least if they spend $1,000, it's Beauty Loop 1. And I think it's like even up to like $5,000 a year.
Yeah.
And they get free product and they get to go into the store every quarter. And then when they get free product, then they want to buy that product. And then one thing leads to another. Why haven't we done that? Is it the software's behind?
No, it's not the software. I think
investment.
I think it's the investment and the care. To be frank, I think.
So, like, if you had like a dinner with Con or lead agents or the partners, if you're someone who's like a developer or builder, or if, for example, like the future of Western Sydney property breakfast, where you bring all of your investors together.
Mate, don't give everyone out my IP. Mate. What are you doing?
I've never been invited to the dinner.
I know. I think it's a lack of taking the time to actually think about these relationships and how to foster them over the 10-year period, like the dominating decade.
Blocks.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then we get busy in busyness, and the market's up, the market's down. There's COVID, there's a crisis, there's agent left, agent joined. The reality is that most people are leading blind and they're only seeing the next 3 months in front of them. Okay? The businesses that I've experienced and watched and learned from and are continued to be mentored by are the ones that are leading the way by actually having plans for their people and plans for their customers.
And so when it comes to like really thinking about like the lifetime value of a customer, like you go and buy your first home, and then maybe you buy your first couple's home, and then maybe if you're lucky enough, you buy another investment property, and maybe you get a slightly bigger home as the kids grow up, and maybe get another investment property and maybe downsize. Call that 5 transactions and call that very like minimal number. Let's call it 20 grand a pop.
Yes.
Like every customer's now 100,000. And if they can refer you to one transaction in every transaction, that's another 100,000. That's $200,000. So basically when I look at it, it's like, well, there's $200,000 worth of value extraction that can happen. But you know what? It's not business that you have to chase. It's a better quality fee. It leads to more referrals. It's a better quality conversation. But ultimately we're too short term in the approach. And how often do you see, like I've got a property just up here in my street that actually just come back on the market 3 years ago. I went through it.
Yeah, the one, I just saw that. Yeah.
And now it's come back on the market. Yeah. And it's just like, man, the agent that sold it to them is not the agent that's representing the current owners right now in the sales campaign.
I'm not surprised.
Yes.
I'm not surprised. We track everything. So we track where all of our lead sources come from. Last year, how's this? We did, 2,141 odd listings, right? Just off the top of my head.
Yes.
We sold 533 properties to past clients.
Right.
Of those 533, 30%, 150 or more, had bought from us in the last 5 years alone.
Wow.
But yet we still had thousands of hours of letterbox dropping and door knocking and cold calling when we've got maybe 10,000 past clients that we could be nurturing. I think it's all about coming down to strategic plan and vision, but more importantly, it's just taking the time to actually work out. You're right, you're 100%. It's like a landlord. For me, if we lose a landlord, based on preventative loss because our service wasn't good enough.
Yes.
We lose the profit, we lose the asset value, we lose the resale on that property, and 38% of all of our landlords live in the same region. We lose their principal place of residence too. That's the lifetime value loss. It's over $50,000.
Yes.
So if you don't take the time to actually inspect everything that you expect, then you can expect that you're not going to grow at the pace that you can.
So this is interesting about making sure that you invest ahead of the curve. If I said to you, okay, great, I want you to go to your sales leadership team tomorrow and I want you to tell me, let's do some research on who the top 100 customers of your business is. Yep. So people that have done multi-transactions. Yep. And they might be like house flippers or professional investors or maybe builder developers or people that you've done a lot of work with, or land subdivision still a thing in your market. Like that might actually be a thing. So like really going and saying, okay, great, how would we go to serve that customer base and continue to maintain that loyalty and that relationship?
Yes.
And I always say to people, I've not spent $1 on like some sort of an inducement or some sort of extra present or anything like that. But I do offer the one thing that you can't buy in the shops, which is a relationship. Correct. So if you need me, quick SMS, quick phone call, I'll come back to you. I'll get you a resource. I'll get you in front of someone. I'll build something as a part of that. And I think that this is interesting is that organizations have probably got to start to think about, they need to know when to be a fast follower, and then they need to know when they need to be an innovator.
Yeah.
And so I was watching this whole thing about like where, the AI world has gone, and how many bets could you have placed so far this year and had no outcome?
And losses. Correct.
But yet if you just spent the time with your top 100 customers of all time and had a call list and you rang them once a month or once a quarter, whatever the cadence is, I can guarantee I would have got significant amounts. And so I was with a CEO of a leading business last week, and he said to me, like, we are 100%, our whole theme is all about relationship orientation for the course of the next year. And we're talking about that because I really want to make sure that the customer experience that's wrapped around that relationship is everything. Because in a world that's going to go, and he was saying we will outlaw AI making phone calls on our behalf.
Yeah.
We will be very much human to human, very much connection.
Well, they'll end up being the glowing light in their market because everyone else will follow down the easy path because it's easy. But that's not a relationship. That's a transaction.
Yes.
Like if I want to book my, carpet steam cleaning, sure, I'm okay to speak to an AI bot. AI. You know what it is.
Yes.
Right. But if I want to have a relationship with someone,
yes,
I have to have started that conversation and had the permission to be able to continue it.
So, what about this whole concept of locking in on a 10-year plan?
I love that. We were just speaking about it.
Yes.
That's exactly what we must do. Now, look, here's the funny thing is Japanese insurance companies, right?
Right.
They operate...
You're at random.
I know. So Japanese insurance companies, their whole thing, their whole idea is a 10-year plan. They build it and then they try to find something that kills that company to replace it. Right. So it has this longevity. But every year, the 10-year plan gets revised.
Yes.
So have that vision, that foresight. What do you want your business to look like? Let's talk about total addressable market, market share, key markets, key agents, partners, revenue, profit, yada, yada, yada. All the standard stuff. Mm-hmm. Now do the exact same thing in your life.
So what would happen if anyone who's listening to the podcast today just said this, I now need to lock in on a plan for the next decade. Mm-hmm. This is it.
Yep.
There's nothing else.
Yep.
You will find unparalleled levels of clarity, phenomenal amounts of energy, and you'll cut a ton of confusion and challenge out of your life by just doing that.
Hallelujah, brother. That is a superpower. Experiences that rapidly shaped you.
I was in a position, I was watching a conference recently and Gary Vee was on there and I hadn't seen him for a long time. We've actually seen him speak a few times over in the US. And one little thing that he said is that your actions map your ambitions.
Yeah, I like that.
So a lot of people kind of reverse engineer, right? So set the ambition and then go back and map the actions. But when you haven't set that, the actions that you're currently undertaking are mapping a future, defined or not.
By your actions.
So what you start to think about is that if you behave your way to the future, make sure that your actions are mapping to where you want to go. And I thought it was very relevant if you're thinking about a 10-year plan.
Yeah.
That are my actions mapping on my personal development, my career development, my people development to make sure that I'm building the type of business that I actually really want.
Yeah, I like that. One of the things that, it's not an idea. It's more of an experience. I just upgraded my iPhone to the new iOS thing.
Look at you.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I did it by myself as well, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting though? I was looking at it. some of the changes are major.
Yes.
A lot of them are subtle.
Yes.
And you only experience it when you get into the app or go through that.
Yes.
Isn't that the exact same thing that we're just talking about in terms of making these small, subtle changes that compound every single day that make it easier, better experience, better conversation? I thought that was pretty cool.
Something that's changing your view.
I kind of love this, and building on the theme of today of the dominate the decade, but like when committed replaces what ifs.
Yeah.
And so like, what if we did that? Or what happens if we did 20-minute opens on apartments? Or what if we actually did midweek auctions and freed up Saturdays? Or what if what happens if you just committed that that's what we're going to do and we're going to make it work?
Love that.
And I think that's where a lot of wasted energy is that, we could do all of these things. And, kind of the worst thing in training is like, if you just take one thing away. No, hey. Maybe it's actually a reformat to commit to the decade of excellence in service and pricing and knowledge of customer base.
Yeah.
That changes your entire business and what you can go to produce.
Well, you're either interested or you're committed.